Good morning, everybody. Lee Brower here. Welcome to this week's edition of Meaningful Monday. I am grateful to be here and I am glad to be here. And happy 4th of July week. Can I ask you a question? How much of what you believe have you actually experienced for yourself? Now, think about that for a moment. Not what you've heard, not what you've read, not what someone else has posted, not what social media tells you, not what the news tells you. What have you actually experienced? And that question has been on my mind this week because have you seen the hundreds of thousands of people that are coming? I think it's that big, coming in from foreign countries to watch FIFA, soccer, the World Cup. And what are you hearing? So they came expecting what? I think they came expecting violence, division, people that are unfriendly, crime on every corner. But if you listen to their interviews, they're remarkably similar. What they talk about is the kindness of complete strangers, the beauty of the country, the convenience, the generosity, the smiles, the willingness of people to help someone they've never, ever met. Now, does that mean America's perfect? I don't think so. Nope. No family is perfect. No community is perfect. And no nation is perfect. But it does remind me of something incredibly important. And listen carefully. There is a profound difference between inherited narratives and firsthand experience. And that takes me back nearly 250 years. Imagine if our founding fathers had simply accepted the probability of success. What if they just told their armies, go out, be positive, we can do this? The most powerful military in the world stood against them. We had limited resources, limited training, little chance, at least statistically, of ever succeeding. The probability said, don't even try. Yet they were not governed by probability. They were inspired by possibility. They believed that ordinary people like you and me, guided by faith, character, courage, personal responsibility, could build something extraordinary. Not because the odds favored them, but because the principles did. I often say, I don't like the phrase, be positive. It puts me in the gap. I much prefer be possible. See, when you say be positive to somebody, they're usually in a different place, and then they start comparing to where they're at, and they don't get that emotion, they don't get that gain. But if you say what's possible, man, that opens up all kinds of things. Possibility and what could be true. But one of the greatest freedoms that we enjoy in this country isn't simply the freedom of speech. Think about it. It's the freedom to seek truth for ourselves. It's the freedom to ask questions, to meet people, to travel, to listen, to experience, and to replace assumptions with understanding. In today's world, it's easy to inherit someone else's opinion. Algorithms are telling us what to think. Headlines are trying to tell us what to fear. Social media can convince us that we've seen reality when we've only seen somebody's carefully selected moment that they created. But freedom invites us to do something different. Freedom invites us to discover, to experience, to choose. And that's where gratitude becomes so powerful. Gratitude slows us down. Gratitude opens our eyes. It helps us notice goodness that fear often overlooks. Our founding fathers, they weren't reservoirs hoarding power and prestige. They were rivers, willing to let the courage, their ideas, and their sacrifice flow forward into future generations they'd never meet. They measured from where they started and asked, what kind of a freedom can we possibly make that would be possible for our children and theirs and theirs? And I think that's positive generational impact in motion. Their lives they remind us that history isn't only written by the probable. History is written by people who live from possibility. The 4th of July, perhaps one of the greatest ways we can honor those who signed the Declaration of Independence, is not simply celebrating what they did. The founding fathers gave us the possibility of America. Whether the possibility continues to grow depends on what you and I choose to do each day. If we could live like they lived, if we could choose courage over comfort, if we could seek truth over assumptions, if we could live by principle-based leadership, enduring principles rather than temporary opinions, and choose possibility even against the odds where probability says otherwise, that's where we need to find ourselves. Let's ask ourselves a question this week. Where in my life have I accepted someone else's narrative without seeking my own experience? Maybe it's about a person, maybe it's about a relationship, could be a challenge. Here's a great quote. Possibility is God's gift to us. Stewardship is our gift back. If you have heard something today that sparks your interest, then share it. If this is something that you feel other people should think about and talk about, then share it. Let's do our job. Go big. Let's begin in gratitude, because gratitude doesn't just help us appreciate what is, it helps us to see what is possible. Have a meaningful week, and I look forward to talking to you next week. Bye-bye. Happy 4th.